Now, I don't know you, but if you're here watching a Producer Hive video about an EastWest plugin, my guess is you use your ears quite a lot. And that's just like me. I'm much happier taking in information through my ears than through any other sense. And that's what got me listening to podcasts. And listening to podcasts is what got me into making podcasts and, more importantly, for the purposes of this video at least, making music for podcasts. The plugin I'm going to share with you today is potentially going to revolutionize the way that you think about making music for podcasts. And if you're not making music for podcasts, it might inspire you to start. But before I get too far ahead of myself, the plugin we're talking about is Forbidden Planet, and here's a little background on it. So the whole idea behind Forbidden Planet is it is a fully featured synth collection that's not based on traditional oscillators, but instead combines electronic synth layers with orchestral world instruments, choral samples, sound effects, and more. So it's basically a hybrid synth, but it is a big hybrid synth with 645 different instruments and altogether 54 gigabytes of samples. You can buy it outright on its own, but it's also part of the Composer Cloud Plus subscription. The folks at EastWest have not paid me to say any of this about Forbidden Planet, but they did give me a year-long subscription to Composer Cloud so that I could try it out. So let me set the stage for you. You are producing a weekly podcast with a little bit of new music and a little bit of old music each week. So you've got your title and your outro and some of your transitional music that's in the bag. You've made it a long time ago and it's working, but you have your new episode that's supposed to drop tomorrow and you don't have your new music that you're going to use to underscore your guest's voice in the recording. So you hop over to Ableton Live 11, and you load up your Opus engine, which is how you access all of the Composer Cloud plugins, including Forbidden Planet. And when you click Forbidden Planet, it takes you to this directory of subfolders that are arranged in a pretty sensible way. You know, you've got your arpeggiators, you got your bass, you got your drones, and you were smart and you went ahead a while back and labeled a bunch of favorites. So if you go to your analog bed arpeggiators, you've got 4 favorites that you've picked out because these sounded good to you at the time. And so if you click on Scrambled Transmission, you know that this is something that you've listened to and liked. And so now that that's all set, you're going to go ahead and record so that you are ready in time for your podcast to come out. Oops. Then you remember that you're not a very good keyboard player, but that's okay. Nobody has to know. I suck at the piano. Now that we've got a little something recorded, probably want to play around with it a little bit. So we go to the play menu. Forbidden Planet is one of these synths that has a lot of curated presets or patches that are ready to go right out of the box. They sound good. There aren't any duplicates or any like false leads where you're like, why would you ever use that patch? It doesn't sound good. They all sound good. That said, there's also a lot that you can do under the hood within this plugin without having to bring in other plugins to soak up more CPU. So the filters that are here, there's some drive, you've got reverb, delay, it's all here in the box so that if you don't want to use it straight out of the box, you can make your changes in the box. So something that we want to keep in mind anytime we're writing music that's going to underscore a person's voice, which is what you're always doing in a podcast because otherwise it would just be an instrumental album with an RSS link. Anytime you're going to score for Under the Human Voice, what you want to do is make sure that you're making use of this like bimodal frequency spectrum that has a little cutout where the voice sits. And so something you can do right off the bat is you can just filter your music to stay away from the human voice. So we could take what we just did and cut out some of those overtones that might clash or soak up the frequency spectrum that the human voice would need. Now, of course, eventually you're not going to be cutting overtones anymore. You're going to be cutting fundamentals like here. Can't hear anything because you cut out the fundamental instead of shaping the sound via the overtones. So probably we would want to go for like right here at the lowest so that we still get some sound. Now, of course, you could take what you recorded and just move the fundamental down an octave or two, but at that point you'd be putting out audio that you wouldn't be able to hear through phone speakers or computer speakers anymore. You'd just be able to hear them through headphones, which you might be cool with. Maybe everybody in your audience is a musician and knows that you ought to listen to stuff through headphones when you can. But if that's not the case, it would be this kind of ambiguous thing where you'd be wondering if the composer did that on purpose or if it was an accident because they didn't realize what they were doing. So, you know, make your choice, do whatever you want. But the thing to keep in mind here, though, is that a lot of the music that you hear in podcasts, in order not to detract from the voice, is subtle on purpose. And there's a lot that you can do with different features of music that are not harmony. Harmony jumps right out at us. Melody jumps right out at us. So minimalistic and repetitive music does well in a podcast because it can set the tone without being the center of attention. And so what you can do with a lot of these patches in Forbidden Planet is just play with, like if I were to open up a drone, for example. Yes. There is a lot happening in here to the point where I don't necessarily need to do anything with harmony. There is harmony, of course, but I don't need to change the harmony. So I can, let's get started here. But anyway, you notice I was playing around with the pitch bend, just a very subtle pitch bend, and I was playing around with the crossfade ever so slightly and the filter ever so slightly, almost not noticeably at all. But there's so much that you can do just with those features and not have to worry about harmony at all. I wanted to keep this video short and sweet, so we really only scratched the surface of Forbidden Planet. But what I hope is clear is that there are all of these possibilities within very simple harmonic and melodic structures that really lend themselves well to making music for podcasts, where the text, the thing that we're saying in the show is the most important thing. And so the music should really be there to accentuate and build up that text and reach the audience on a different sensory level, even though you're still aiming at their ears. It's a little bit harder, I think, than film scoring because you don't have the benefit of that visual there. So you have to do more with that sense of hearing. For those of us who use our ears a lot and kind of need to be reached at a deeper level through our hearing, I think that's how you do it. Thanks so much for hanging out. For more videos, stuff like this, be sure to subscribe to the Producer Hive YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that you know next time we put something out. And for a whole bunch of print resources, check out producerhive.com. There's a massive back catalog there with answers to so many of the questions you might have. My name's Noah. See you next time.